Good evening around the world. My name is Doug Bruhnke. I'm the founder and CEO of Global Chamber. We're really pleased today to share with you two amazing experts on two key hot markets around the world. Today's format is going to be our first session this year on the 12 hot markets that you should know about that are happening right now in 2021 in the world. And so we wanted to make you aware and kick off with two dynamic expert speakers. I'm going to kick off, however, first with just a brief review of what we see as the 12 hot markets. And then we're going to, let's see if I can move this out of the way. I'm not sure I can. I'm not hopefully you can see that on your screen. And I think it might be okay. The 12 hot markets around the world. And then we're going to then go into a conversation around two of them. One of them is artificial intelligence and technology built around that Nasri is probably the world expert on. And then we're going to talk and shift over to Africa and some of the exciting things that are going on there. So first, however, let's take a look at what those 12 are. Want to reemphasize, especially to the folks that are in the US, that over the next 5 years, 85% of the business around the world will be outside the US. And so this is a big driving force for Global Chamber for not just Americans, but people around the world, that almost all of your business that you can take for your business, for your firm, is not in your country. And so we're built to help you connect to that. So here are the 12. Number one, and this is the one that Nasri Mood is going to be speaking about in a moment, and that is fintech. It's a fast growing area, over 20% per year. It's estimated to be a market size globally of about $500 billion in 2025. This includes artificial intelligence, blockchain, cryptography, and many more things. Related to that, and one of the things that's kind of wrapped around these technology changes is disruptive technologies. You're seeing now companies with e-commerce. It also includes robotics, automation, and the variety of technologies around that. It's also a very large market and growing fast. This is an old data point, I would think, especially with the pandemic, that we'll see a lot more progress in this area and much larger markets. Number three market area that we're monitoring here at Global Chamber is the product share segment. This is certainly the ones that we're all familiar with, the Ubers and Lyfts, Grabs, and many more, but it's also homes, hotels, clothes, etc. This is a large market, and it's growing, and it's not just a transportation anymore, it's many more things. Related to that and kind of building on that, on number four, are electric vehicles, hydrogen vehicles, and other vehicles that are self-driving. This also includes the drone market, cars and trucks in terms of vehicles, and it also includes the supply chain. When you think about the automotive supply chain today that is built around fossil fuels, from fuel all the way through all the different parts, there's going to be significant changes. And rare earths is an example of markets and market segments that are very dynamic right now, and ones that you should know about. And we'll have people speaking about that throughout the year. Number five, and this is certainly one that many of us are watching and maybe even involved with as a consumer and certainly as an investor, and that's cannabis. The question becomes, given that this is a growing market and very fast growing market, why would you end up growing cannabis, marijuana in Canada? It doesn't make any sense. Well, there's lots of laws and regulations built around the distribution of this today, but those are going to change. And so this is a market that is very dynamic, from grower through supply chain all the way out to retailer. Your country may not at this moment have very much developed here, but certainly here in the US, There are many states where it's fully legal. There are other states where it's partially legal. And then there are other states where it's not, but it's all moving toward having it fully legalized. Number 6 market segment to watch is water. So there's a huge market, obviously very important for humans to live. There's about a $500 billion market in 2025 just in packaged water alone. And then there's a variety of solutions like this product, which is a solar panel tacked onto a unit that creates water out of the air. This creates solar opportunity. This is an activated carbon and high surface area carbon opportunity. A lot of things that are kind of spilling out of that, but it's all built off of our need for water. Number 7, somewhat related, ag tech and food. This includes drone and tech farming methods. It includes organic and health foods and the shift on the consumer side of where that's going. It also includes shifts away from meat and animals, so to insects and alternative crops and foods, alternatives to meat. Number 8 is energy. So especially now here in the US, as we shift away from an antiquated thought process administration to one that's more in line with the way the rest of the world is thinking, we're going to see shifts in energy from fossil fuels to solar and wind, more toward clean carbon technologies and around energy management. It's always going to be important, and it's increasing in importance, and particularly around the shift to clean energies. Related to this is climate and climate change and all the technologies and lifestyle changes that are going to be required to adjust. The market is very large. There's billions and trillions. Cities that are built on water, and the management of that, energy, going back to energy a little bit, the promise of nuclear fusion, which had made some progress decades ago, and now I understand there are people that are actually quite close to breaking through on nuclear fusion solutions. And so we're going to see a lot over the next 5 to 10 years in this area. Number 8 is infrastructure. It somewhat relates to climate change in the sense that even older locations are making some changes, but this also includes all of the new cities that are growing in places like China and India and other countries that are fast growing. It includes the metro transit systems, water systems, sewer and electric, roads, bridges, trains, subways, pipelines, ports. There's an amazing amount of infrastructure that's being built. This includes Africa as well. And number 11 out of 12 is data. And so data and data management and storage, cybersecurity and protection and compliance requirements has been a very large market over the last 10, 20 years, and it's going to continue to grow. And then finally, almost finally, I'm going to do a 12+1 opportunity. Number 12, I think many of us have now recognized we've been looking at this market for many years, and now with the pandemic, healthcare and many other related issues that have come out of the pandemic are important. The elderly and disabled has always been important, creating health and wellness for longer lived people as the world lives longer. And now, as I mentioned, with the pandemic, personal protective equipment, telehealth technologies, and other pandemic technologies that are coming out. This is, by the way, Mount Fuji, which if you haven't climbed, you definitely should put that on your bucket list. It's one of my favorite things I've ever done. And then finally, the 12+1 opportunity are the regions. And we're going to hear from one of them today. Comey Clue is going to be talking about Africa, but in addition to all of the specific market segments we should be looking at, there are a variety of other very fast growing regions around the world that we need to keep our eyes on. And Africa has some very unique changes that are going on that we should all be aware of, especially if you're in the global market. So we strongly recommend that you jump in. You can do this. You can jump into cross-metro and cross-border business. That's what we're built to do. We strongly recommend that you do get connected. It's very important that you work with trusted clients and resources, and you can absolutely guarantee that the folks within the Global Chamber are trusted because they're vetted as they come into Global Chamber. And we encourage you to be aware. You have probably some specific areas that you're growing in your own company, but we suggest that you also diversify your thought process and be aware of changes that are happening around the world and in market segments, because opportunities are everywhere. And we have the resources to help you get to open up some doors for your business, or maybe if you want to open up a new business. That's what the Global Chamber is all about. We're in 525 metros around the world. We're continuing to grow. And over the next 5, 10, 20 years, we hope to be the one place that you can go and count on for a trusted network to grow your business successfully and productively. And the two people we have speaking today, Nasri Mood and Komi Klu, are great examples of experts that you can trust that have the knowledge that you need to grow successfully. So let's get back to that. And I think you now probably see me in the screen, and you can see our two special guests. Nasri, we're going to shift now to you. You're going to be talking about artificial intelligence, and I know you're right in the middle of a lot of different things. I was very excited to see your new, I think, weekly or bi-weekly news on artificial intelligence. It's one of the most impressive documents that I've seen in terms of keeping up to date on that. I'm sure you'll be sharing that with us. We love what you're doing. We love to collaborate with you. And thank you for all of your support. And we look forward to hearing your conversation today.
Thank you, Doug. Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Okay, great. Hello, Komi. How are you?
Fine, Nasri.
All right. So this feels like a informal preliminary introduction to yourself and a sound test between us. Yeah. So
Yes.
those of you who just tuned in, thank you, Doug, for inviting myself here to shift the topic from the hottest market to the hottest tech. Okay. So Doug mentioned about data analytics, right? And AI being one of the hottest markets. So let's drill down deeper into the hot markets to hot tech kind of conversation right now. And when we talk about tech, rest assured, I'll not be talking about rocket science. I'll not be talking about technical jargons, but more so the impact that technology serves, as an enabler to multiple industries and multiple sectors. So I would like to assure everyone that there are three parts to my session that proves to that. Yeah. Number one is to give you an idea of the AI and data analytics specialization that we do. Our technology is represented and franchised in 20 over countries globally. And basically, it's important for us to align the concept of AI, okay, by, first of all, not giving you a theoretical definition, but more of letting you know that when it comes to AI, it's not linear. Okay, what it does, it mimics the human brain to make a decision, which is on your right. We call it, sorry, it's a little bit of typo error. It should be called natural intelligence. Okay, on the left, it's called artificial intelligence. So as you can see, when we study things, when we memorize things, when we look at standard operating procedures, when you look at manuals, right, everything is done sequentially. Paragraph 1, verses 2, paragraph 3, page 75. So in this case, AI is not linear. AI moves in a lateral way. So it moves in a what you call neural network way, and it does in a matrix way. So what AI does is that after knowing that it's not linear, it basically feeds the data that is fed into the engine. Okay, it's able to help you understand your current and past data. It's able to take into account new variables. They could be random, it could be systematic, and then use the current and past data, take into account new variables, and then to project future scenarios and probable outcomes. So at the end of the day, an AI is able to mimic the way the brain thinks, and then helps you to make scenarios and probable outcomes, decide on the probability of certain events happening, decide based on that, right? And essentially, it's also be able to recommend set of action plan based on that given set of circumstances. So the technology we're talking about here is called the natural language, which is a subset of AI. 3 parts of natural language: generation, understanding, and processing. So let's skip the definition of that. What it does is it's able to analyze qualitative and quantitative data and come out with a current diagnosis and future scenarios. So in this case, AI is widely used for decision making. So there are 3 parts to my presentation, as I mentioned earlier. Now going deeper, first part is talking about AI. Second part talks about the use cases and the case studies. And the third part is how you can participate in owning and jointly develop the AI without even having to do programming or coding. Okay, so here you can see that AI can be used to find out what happened, why did it happen, what could happen in the future, what needs to be done, and what needs to be monitored. So it moves from weak to moderate to strong AI. So AI, there's some granularity involved. Whatever it is, it's able to speed up the whole decision-making process in an independent, objective, accurate manner. From McKinsey's study, you can see there are very notable tangible returns, incremental value arising from AI being applied or adopted by different sectors. Okay, so it's quite self-explanatory. And basically, the point that I'm trying to make in this slide is that the ROI is very pervasive. Okay, it's positively strong and very tangible. And in the investment side, you can see the likes of Google, Apple, Facebook made a lot of AI acquisitions, through the startup since 2009. So they continue to acquire companies that are rich in data, rich in technology, and rich in innovation. So the AI must be smart enough, as I said, to go through that 5 levels. It's able to tell you what happened, why did it happen, what could happen, what needs to be done, and then what needs to be monitored going forward. So AI has those characteristics that is beyond a dashboard, that is beyond a ratio or a chart. Okay. So here are some selected use cases that I would like to share how AI has been applied within our group. So within the fintech world, you can see that AI is widely used by many banks. We've served the second largest bank in the world in China, second largest bank in Spain, largest bank in Singapore, and a few other institutions in Malaysia. So what we do is we use AI to evaluate the risk profile of SMEs automatically, feed the financial statements, feed the social data, feed the loan documents. It will automatically develop an analysis or of the report. Yeah. So just to give you a visual how it looks like, this is something that we've done for a cooperative. Feed the financial statements. Okay, it's able to tell you what actually happened. All these are automatically done by the machine. It summarizes the financial state of the organization, not done by human, but done by machines. It tells you the negative and positive news that's been happening, what they need to do in the next 6 to 12 months, short bullet points, 12 things that they must do with regards to the balance sheet strength. It tells you the news about this organization in terms of the emerging trends that are reported about them. It will document and evidence where the news is coming from based on the keywords about the company. So at the same time, you're looking at qualitative and quantitative, right? It's able to analyze financial ratios. It's able to analyze qualitative information, where the information is coming from, who are the authors, and who are mentioned, including Donald Trump. I don't know why. Okay, so here you can see the financial snapshot. Now we go into the quantitative analysis. Do you have enough money? Do you have enough equity? Are you growing? What are the financial gaps that you have? What are the risk areas that you have? What you need to concern about in the future? A bit of an X-ray, MRI-like machine, right? Scanning and dashboard. Yes, no answer with evidence. Then it gets deeper into the diagnosis by looking at your ability to manage your operations, your ability to create value for your stakeholders, your management of your risks. You can have high returns, but do you have higher risks to generate every dollar of returns, right? So the AI just goes on, and then it gives you an immediate and instant as well as in-depth perspective of what you're short of, including your funding gaps. So those of you who are involved in funding, financing, investing, valuing businesses, loan, lending, and stuff like that, you are able to determine, right, the amount of working capital required if, because of COVID, right, your working capital gaps get wider and wider. Okay, so you can see all this happening, including measuring your financial impact and social impact. And action plan, what are the things that you need to do? All these are done by machines. If I give you 100 financial statements and 100 companies right now, how long would you take to do all this, right? So AI can do it within 3 hours. 100 of these accounts that go into you, right? It can process. You invest in more machines, it can be done under 1 hour. I'm talking about a single terminal. How long does it take for a single laptop terminal to process 100 of such customized reports? Less than 3 hours, right? So this is the pervasive impact that AI can do, right? In terms of loan. So moving quickly, so imagine with such reports, you can do it for professional services like accountants who's advising businesses in the areas of financial market or business advisory. You can do, we also have a robo auditor that's able to do 100% population testing. So you have to look for fraud, right? Internal audit gaps. You have to look for breaches of compliance. You can go through ledgers, journals, transactions, and so on. So these are actually the summary of the real cases that we are working on across different sectors. Education. Education in this case means that you can analyze a student's academic and non-academic factors, whether he or she is inclined to pursue a particular subject or course, okay, how she learns, and her career mindset. Okay, so imagine students have that personalized evaluation of their learning method, learning style. You can see which subject she likes, which subject she doesn't like. She doesn't like tax, interest level very low, knowledge level limited, right? She loves audit, interest level high, knowledge level high, because students are submitting things on the web, right, or online. So we're able to create a personalized lesson plan for each student, okay? And we can even determine what kind of career she likes to do, and then wrap up or pull information about the audit world. While she is still studying as an undergraduate, she's able to know what's happening in industry while still studying, all catered for her. And then just like Uber, right? It's able to determine and pull out, okay, the auditors out there in the market who can mentor or advise her. That's education.
That's outstanding. We'd like to see one on you, Nazri.
On me? Yeah, we've done such personal profiling. It's very interesting. Next time we'll do that on you too. We'll compare each other. I can compare you against Elon Musk, Jack Ma, Bill Gates, and all that. You know how your personality is like based on the voices, the speeches, the text that you rendered. It's quite accurate actually, but yeah, you get to experience it to believe it, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So when you're talking about these, could you also kind of talk a little bit about how widespread is the use of AI in these areas? Because you guys are cutting edge, and so you're doing stuff that's way ahead of the market. So along the way, just keep us posted on, where is this, like in banking, what you talked about there, how many banks around the world are doing that at this point, and what do you see it kind of as the opportunity going forward? Are all banks going to be doing this in the next 5 or 10 years, for instance?
Yeah, for banks, it's split into 3 parts, right? The front office, the mid office, and the back office. So the front office banks are moving towards customer experience. So they would like to make the loan applications faster, quicker, more accurate. They want to create customized financing programs for each SME or SMB. However, in the middle office, the credit evaluation, the credit risk processing, the credit approval, sometimes face a lot of bottlenecks. So they need to speed up the process of determining risks. They need to speed up the process of, decisioning, right? How they decide on whether to approve or reject. And then the end of the spectrum will be the compliance. So the banks face all these problems on top of the legacy issues that they have, legacy systems that they have, right? So the period, the transition to adopt advanced technology becomes an obstacle for them because they're sitting on a lot of legacy systems. They have to spend tens of millions of dollars just to become relevant. But AI doesn't have to be expensive. AI doesn't have to be costly. So AI operates on cloud, whether it's private or public. So you can just tap onto it and then just process it, borrow the engine, and then spit out the output. I think that's what AI must be and should be operated even amongst institutions. The issue of ownership, the issue of integration, these are dirty words. Dirty words in the sense that when we talk about integrating, they think very traditional. So so the opportunity for banks is that they have to win customers faster, quicker. They have to have customers at a lowest cost, with the lowest risk, at the highest return, and the quickest way possible. So there's a lot of things in one sentence, So that's a challenge for banks right now. How do you get your customers the quickest way, right? At the lowest cost, at the lowest risk, that gives you the highest margin. So these are very simple sentences, but very difficult to implement without the use of AI.
That makes sense. We have about 5 minutes for your section, and so think about that as you're wrapping up. And if we have time for question within that, we'll try to do that. So
this is the end of my main slide, but I have a 4-minute video actually for everybody to see about at the end of the day. So how can you be involved in this AI era, whether in fintech, whether it's ed tech, whether it's medical tech? I think at the end of the day, what holds you back from adopting AI would be the usual suspects, right? Number one, I don't have the budget, I don't have the cost, I don't have the people, I don't have the expertise, I don't know where to start, right? So these are the kind of things that could be something that you could be educated upon. So let me just stop sharing this screen and go to another one. Yeah.
Beautiful. We might have a volume challenge.
Volume, yeah. Because I didn't share the. It's okay, it's just music. So I guess I can try to explain verbally. So one of the pain points is that people do not know AI. Doug, is it okay if I speak as the video plays on?
Yes, please do.
So the music is not interrupting you, yeah? So essentially, at the end of the day, people struggle because there are barriers to adopting AI. So AI converts into opportunities. It leads to real tangible outcome. So PwC projected that it's a $17 trillion market. And McKinsey lists out reasons why you want to adopt AI. You can see that AI can give you that extra edge in order to operate faster, better, quicker, and gives value to your customers. So here talks about the executives within the organization, right? I know it's a bit fast, but just wanting to let you know, have a feel. So we have this scheme called Digital AI Labs, where we fund you a $1.5 million AI system based on your requirements. We adopt an X to Y% to fund the CAPEX. That means it's more for rev share. And there's a small fee to pay for the prototype cost. So you don't have to pay for the full. We fund 90% of the system. And then you get to own up to 50% of the asset with us, as if it's a project without altering your entity structure. This shows the barriers, as I mentioned before. So on the left-hand side shows you the high, expensive, lack of talents, long implementation, not customizable, and so on. Here, right, you don't have any CAPEX to pay. You just have to provide the ideas. We convert the ideas into systems as designed around specific needs. It goes to the earlier part where we say that without having to invest in all of the things, you get to build these digital assets. These are the 6 key benefits. So it's a plug and play model, yet customized to your setting. You can be a fintech person, you can be an educator, you can be a manufacturing sector, right? Okay. So this is where the prototype works. So it's a step-by-step guide. It's like a design thinking, design sprint method. So we developed all this. You have a clear roadmap on how to implement your AI moving forward. We even developed the output. You have a demo video to see what it looks like, how it's going to perform. You get to see the comparables of how other similar but not identical technologies work. We do a business plan for you on a step-by-step basis. There's a pitch deck that we develop with you. And then if you want to make an announcement to the public, to your stakeholders, we can help you prepare that under 5 days. So speed is very important for us.
Wow.
Speed, not at the expense of quality, not at the expense of generalizing, but speed around your specific needs. And this can be done digitally. We have the last 40 seconds. So we covered many systems, many projects, fintech and non-fintech area. So the thing about AI is we can improve the turnaround time, can lead to customer leads, can reduce operating costs. And this is what our case studies reveal with our projects. Okay, so that is what our program is all about. Hope that those of you who are inspired, be inspired, but don't get intimidated by AI. And we want you to consider, to be familiarize yourself with the AI world. Do join our AI community in Telegram. And of course, if you there's a free, all these are free services. You can also get into our joint publication partnership with Global Chamber called AI 10, where you get to know about AI 10 every week under 10 minutes. So we believe in educating, we believe in raising awareness, we believe in making people embrace AI for a better future, not to be intimidated, not to be replaced, but to be augmented in their work, right? So at the end of the day, opportunities are plenty. Okay, at the end of the day, how we seize it matters. When you say how, there's a long way, there's a short way. There's a very inefficient way, there's a very modernistic way. So like I said, if you're not ready to adopt AI, at least learn about it, read about it, and be part of a community who will share their experiences, not just from me alone, but from the other members of the community. So with that, thank you, Doug. Looking forward to Komi's presentation. Over to you, Doug.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Nasri. So the newsletter, and it may not be the right word for it, but I was referring to the A10. So that's something does that come out every week?
Yes, it does. Yes.
And so how do people get a hold of that? Because it's a free,
well, it's a free, it's a one-time registration, after which you have a choice to receive it every weekly automatically. Right now, there's a QR code there. Can you see the screen? Is it showing?
I don't see the QR code, no.
Oh, no. Okay, let me try again. Can you see now?
Yep.
Okay, so right now, you can just scan using your mobile phone on the QR code, and you just have to do a one-time registration on the right side where you get the weekly AI news under 10 minutes. Under 10 minutes means you get to know about the news in 10 minutes, not download in 10 minutes, but scanning it, register it one time, and you get to know about the latest issues, trends, developments about AI. Like I said, awareness, education, interest level is very important. Don't be intimidated by it, but understand more how it's being applied to the industry. So put aside the cost, put aside the technological terms, the jargons, focus on the outcome and the output. I think that matters more. So AI 10 serves to do just that. So right now, I think we have about 400 plus 200. We have about 700 people joining our AI community. which is on the left-hand side. In Telegram and WhatsApp is a bit full. So do join our AIC. We get daily updates, in fact, for AIC. But for AI10, you get the daily updates, but distributed on a weekly basis. Just scan the QR code and you will be instantly led to a registration form one time, after which you get to choose whether you want to receive it weekly. It's complimentary. It's put together by our team, and we use AI actually to scan and scrape and pull news. And then going forward, there'll be new features involved where we actually assess the sentiments, we do prediction, right? So this is our third issue. So I hope you can be part of it. You can download it for free and then join the community where it's more actively pursued on Telegram.
You can see why Nasri was the recipient for our first round of Global Leader Awards, and his was a few months ago for the Global Chamber Singapore chapter. Nasri's got his finger on so many really great things, and so I highly recommend that you connect up to these, the AIC community and the AI10. I just received the second version, the AI10 number 2, and it's great information. I don't see any Q&A, and we need to move on anyway, but if you do have questions, for Nasri, please put them in the chat area and we'll make sure that you guys get connected to him to be able to answer any questions. It is after midnight there in Singapore for Nasri, and so we'll leave it up to you, Nasri, if you can hang in for another 20 minutes for Comey, but,
no problem at all.
Definitely recognize if you can't because of how late it is. I really
no problem at all. Yeah.
Thanks for your accommodation for the rest of us in the Americas and Africa and in Europe. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks for the opportunity to share.
Great information. We are now going to shift to a different hot market, and that's Africa. So a regional opportunity with Comey Clue. He's the president of EMI Group, and Comey is currently in Delaware. He's anxiously awaiting the new President Biden, right down the street there. But normally he is in Ghana, so we have captured him this time in Eastern time. Comey, you've got your hands around Africa. Love the input that you're providing on a daily basis in LinkedIn and in other places. And so we're really looking forward to hearing your perspectives on what's happening there, particularly now that the new trade deal is finalized across, I believe, 54 countries. Thanks for sharing today.
Thank you, Doug. While I'm trying to share my screen, let me start by saying, can you see my screen, please?
We can see it. Yep, looks good.
Okay, let me start by confessing something about Africa. 20 years ago, I was skeptical about doing anything in Africa because of the news. I mean, I was African born, but I just so happened to live outside Africa for so many years. I lived in France where I went to law school. Then I came back to the US. So 20 years ago, I was skeptical about doing business in Africa. Why? Because of the news, because of the negative publicity. And then a friend lawyer of mine who has a very productive practice in France told me he's moving to Africa because that's where the growth is. I'm like, are you crazy? But he did move and he's very, very successful. Now, fast forward 20 years later, I see myself for the last 5 years operating in Africa and business is good. So why am I sharing this with you? It's because probably you are in the audience and you are curious or worried, Africa, could anything good come out of Africa? And maybe that might be a question on your mind, but you may not want to ask the question. So I'm going to address it. Yes, Africa was bad for many, many years, but for the last 15 to 20 years, Africa is improving, and now we have turned the corner. Africa is growing and growing fast. That's why anybody who wants to do business globally need to look at Africa at the very least. So now I have the screen here where I say, why Africa? You know, I have a saying that goes that where there are needs, there are opportunities. That's how I approach my business strategy. I go where there are business needs and I try to find solutions. That's how I make money. And I think that's what most business leaders do. I was really impressed when Doug, during his presentation, he talked about water. Water is a high commodity in Africa. And believe it or not, people who are just producing and bottling water are making a lot of money. The number one company that is making a lot of money from water is Nestle. Probably you guys know Nestle. Nestle is making a lot of money just bottling water in Africa. Who would have ever thought? So where there is a need, there are opportunities. And Africa has a lot of needs and opportunities that need to be solved. Now, why Africa? Is because it is one of the fastest growing economic region in the world. Things are changing fast. By 2050, 1/4 of the world population will be living in Africa. And this population is young and they are vibrant and they are doing things that the average person will not think of. These are some of the few reasons why we need to look at Africa for investment opportunities. Now, I'm going to share some data with you. The African Free Trade Agreement is basically creating a single market in Africa. They are breaking down all the trade barriers and the tariffs so that when you come to Africa, you set up shop in Ghana or in Nigeria, you can freely trade with all 54 countries in Africa. This is huge. This will give you access to 1.2 billion people with a combined GDP of 2.5 trillion GDP. Here are some few numbers. Another number that will blow your mind, and which is why I will encourage anybody who is into manufacturing or processing to look at food and agro-business processing. Here is why. Annually, Africa spends 35 billion to import food from around the world. Now, think about it. Food is one of the things you cannot buy on credit. So that means that within the African continent, they have at least $35 billion to spend on food. The food, most of it is imported. What if you are able to invest in the food and agro-business value chain, and you produce the food locally to give you access to 1.2 billion consumers? And I think it is an equation that is worth thinking about. Secondly, Africa is changing fast and digitally. Fintech has actually been invented in Africa, in Kenya, almost 11 years ago. And fintech is all over the world now. Now, even the US, we're talking about Zelle and Cash App, but the genesis came from Africa. And this is growing so fast that we estimate the digital economy to be worth $180 billion according to the World Bank estimation by 2025. $180 billion. That's what the digital economy will be worth in Africa. There are many, many other data I can share with you, but I want to keep it simple. So what are some of the areas that I would like to recommend you invest in looking at Africa globally. Number one is agro-business, because people have to eat. So food and drink are my top choices. Now, currently, light manufacturing is growing fast. It is growing fast, especially during the COVID period, when supply chains has been disrupted. That's when Africa knows that we can manufacture a lot of the things that we need. It's because there were opportunities to import them from outside that we did not take the chance to manufacture them locally. Now that we have no choice, Africa started manufacturing a lot of things, and it works very, very well. So I call that a COVID factor. Another growing area across the continent, like Ghana, Rwanda, Kenya, is business process outsourcing or knowledge process outsourcing. A lot of organizations around the world, in Europe and in North America, are outsourcing some of their business and computer programming functions to Africa. Google has an AI lab in Africa, and a lot of other big organizations do have computer programming outsourcing centers all across Africa. But you will not know it if nobody told you that. Here are the reasons why anybody doing a business, even if you do not want to invest in Africa, and you have some basic back office work that you need support with, or some kind of computer and software support, a lot of organizations are doing them in Africa. Now, I'm going to zoom in now on Ghana. Why Ghana? Because Ghana is one of the fastest growing economy and most stable country in Africa, and that's where our headquarters is located, for obvious reasons. Ghana has a population of 30 million, and it's a middle income country, and Ghana's infrastructure is one of the best in West Africa, and Ghana, one of the best assets that Ghana has is their political stability. It is the most democratic and stable country in West Africa, at least. And if you do business in Ghana, even before the African Free Trade Agreement, that will give you potentially access to 1.2 billion people, you already have access to 350 million people, because Ghana belongs to an economic community that is called ECOWAS, which is the Organization of West African Countries, worth 350 million people. So today, at this very minute, you want to do business in Ghana, it will give you already access to 350 million consumers right away off the bat. Now, what are some of the priority sectors in Ghana? Mostly infrastructure, agro-processing, I talked about it already, light manufacturing and heavy manufacturing. Pharmaceutical manufacturing also is growing very, very, very fast. And cocoa processing, why? Because Ghana is the second top producer of cocoa beans, but we realize that exporting cocoa beans is not a good business proposition. So we want to start processing the cocoa beans to maybe to generate cocoa butter, and if not, to make our own chocolate, so we can compete with the Hershey's of the world. And education and training. Online education. With COVID, we realized that online education is here to stay. And actually, it is cheaper and it is more efficient. So education, quality education online is in high demand in Africa. Actually, the demand is way higher than the supply. Constructions. Now, Africa is a vast construction site. We're building the entire continent now. So whether you want to build affordable houses, warehouse facilities, or build bridges, I mean, construction, you name it, you have the opportunity out there. Retail. Now, Jumia is our African version of Amazon. You can look them up. Their market cap is keep growing. So who will have thought that in Africa, you can have an e-commerce? What Jumia has done is they do not have enough fleet to deliver their goods like Google does, like Amazon does. So they use motorbike to deliver, and that has been very well received. So it is a very creative and innovative solution that they have used in Africa, and they are growing very fast. So just to give you an example of how when you think out of the box and you adapt your solution to the needs on the continent, you can make a lot of money. There's no other way of saying it. Now, last but not least, information technology. I said it earlier, fintech was invented and created in Africa, and there are a lot of fintech and information technology needs, from broadband to cellular services. And cellular penetration on average is like 40%, and now on the continent. So we still have 60% of Africans who need access to cell phone. They need access to cell phone services. They need access to bank accounts, which are digital bank accounts, because they're not going to go to brick and mortar banks to open their accounts. So the needs are there. Like I said, where there is a need, there are opportunities. And I'm going to close, while I hope to have some time to take some questions. I'm going to close with this quote of Winston Churchill. Pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity, and optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty. My friend, I know you are optimists, so you'll find opportunities in all the challenges Africa has today. Thank you. Doug, back to you. Doug, you are on mute.
Thank you, appreciate it. Global Chamber is definitely filled with optimists, people who see the world openly, and so we really appreciate, Comey, your sharing this, and also Nasri's information as well. These are two amazing opportunities for people to jump into. I've seen a little bit of chat in the area around education, the education segment, which both of you touched on. Comey, you pointed out how much money there is to make there, and so that looks very interesting. Actually, I'll ask one question and then I'll let both of you comment. In terms of the one thing that has kind of kept people out of Africa is some of the issues of just doing business and the ease of doing business. How do you see that changing? Are you starting to see an easing of the activity and the ability for people to jump in and to be able to do work in Africa more easily? How do you see that evolving over the next several years?
Okay, I'll take that first. No, it has changed. Even though we still have work to do, it has changed tremendously. For instance, in Rwanda, all of the administrative processes are online. And you can open a new corporation in Rwanda faster than you can do that in the US. You can get a land deed in Rwanda faster than you can get it in the US. So this is how the story of Africa is changing very fast. Now, we still have work to do. Our infrastructure is not completely built yet. So you can have some areas of like roads, transport that are still challenging, but they are still building a lot. We're not there yet. But as far as administrative and regulatory environment, it has improved tremendously. And one of the advice also I'll give to to the would-be investors is you need to, if you decide to come to Africa, you need to use people that you can trust, like firms like ours. But most importantly, you need to have a strategy where you will partner with a local business partner. You need to have that strategy. It will save you a lot of frustration and headache. But overall, the ease of doing business is getting better.
Sounds good. Let me go back to Nasri, and we only have just a couple minutes. So Nasri, I know you've expanded into Africa as well, and you're very familiar with what's going on there. Could you kind of maybe give your comments about the opportunities in Africa, and then could you make a closing comments? Anything else that you'd like to mention about what you're doing that we should know about?
Yeah, we've been very much exposed to West Africa as well as South Africa quite a bit through our local partners. And the experience has always been about deciding whether it should be, partnered with a public sector or private sector. So when it comes to public sector, they will need a series of pilot projects. They will need to do a lot of POCs, proof of concepts, right? They need to do a lot of education. They need to do a lot of awareness. So whoever are prepared to go into Africa, they must have the stamina. We've been in and out for the past, 6-7 years. I've been physically to more than 10 over countries in Africa. It's been quite a ride, and we enjoyed good friendships, good relationships, and I'm certainly very interested to know more about what Komi does. So that's the public sector story. For private sector story, it's always about the ROI as per any private sector. So as long as you are able to justify the inputs that generate the output, right? In simple terms, I think you're set to go. And in between, you need to have a very strong local partners, who will go the mile with you. So these are the little experience that we have, and we'll continue to view Africa as a very strategic market and a very important market for us. Thanks, Doug.
Sounds good. Komi, we only just have a minute or so. Would you like to make some closing comments as well regarding anything else you'd like to conclude? And one of the questions that we had for you was, where are you going to be working? What are some of your key targets and activities in 2021? If you could meld that into your closing comments, that would be awesome.
Oh yeah, that's a good question. In 2021, I will focus mostly in the financial sector, because we are in the process of disrupting the financial sector in Africa, where we're bringing technology to enable faster and more efficient service delivery. So that's what I will do in 2021. But anybody interested in just learning about Africa or just investigating what they can do, we have our email contacts here, and Doug, you can reach out to Doug. You can just ask us any question, and we'll be happy to support you.
No, that sounds great. We have come to the end of the hour, so I'd just like to wrap up and thank our good friend and expert Nasri Mood, who's coming in from Singapore, now approaching 1 a.m. Sorry, Nasri, and Komi Klug, expert on Africa. These are two of the over 40 million trusted resources within Global Chamber. This is the world's largest business network, and we're continuing to grow. We encourage you to be part of that. Primarily what we do is we make warm connections to people that you can know and trust and help grow your business. We also do events, of which this is one of them. I would say there are typically 4 types of events that we do. One is an educational Globinar like today, to keep you up to date on things that are changing. We view the world with abundance, that let's collaborate with all the right people. Let's do the right things to grow our business internationally, because there's so much opportunity. The key now is just to focus in on what are the things that we individually want to work on. So that's the educational Globinars. The 3 other types of events that we do are connecting events. So we do virtual dining, we do League of Extraordinaries, we do Women in Global Business, we do a variety of ones where you can connect up with people who are within your global tribe, a smaller subset of your global tribe. We also do signature events. like the event that I mentioned earlier, the award program where Nasri was awarded global leader. So we do that on a routine basis. We're doing that 4 times this year. And then finally, you may have noticed we're doing a lot of meetups. And in fact, we're coinciding right now with one that is a cross metro meetup between Israel and Mexico. And I encourage, if you're watching this live, to jump over into that and catch the second half of that. But we have dozens and dozens every month of metro meetups where you can step into San Francisco or New York or Paris or Tokyo and meet up with people that are trusted and known within the global tribe, to be able to share what you have and then hopefully listen to what they have and find connections that will help you grow your business. And so lots of opportunity in the world. We're creating more and more opportunity, hopefully, for you to grow your business. And we thank you for your support and collaboration. Again, thank you, Nasri. Thank you, Komi. And everybody, sleep well, Nasri, and everybody else, have a great day. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Doug.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks, Komi. Thanks, everyone. Cesar and all.
Thanks, Nasri.
Thanks. Really appreciate you guys. Keep up the great work.
Okay.
You too.
Bye.